Have you ever wondered how you can keep a man in love with you for your entire relationship? It's kind of confusing because how do you make a man continuously fall in love with you when he already knows you, spends time with you, and is already very used to you? What do you do then? Well, what if I told you that the secret is the strategy completely changes when you finally get him to fall in love with you in order to keep him in love with you? If you want to learn that strategy, then join me on today's show where we'll be discussing how to keep your man in love with you forever. That way, when you use your strategies to finally get the guy, you don't have to spend the rest of your entire relationship worried about losing him. Point number one is about integration. Now, you have to understand, men have a desire to reach the destination of success, which is exactly why I drew this winding road. And you want to understand, how can you position yourself into his life where you become a very vital and pivotal process towards getting to this destination of success? What do I mean by that? See, you might feel like a lot of your value is derived from being with a man, which it shouldn't only be that. But as a woman, you attach a lot of meaning to being in a relationship, having a family, being a mother. See, men have that, but they also have something very, very, very important. They have a desire to succeed in life, to feel like a champion, to feel like the man, to experience success. Right? That's the reason they play video games and they try and level up in their video games. It's the reason they try and hoard resources, whether it be cars, watches, jewelry, women, all of those things, because men love to experience success. So with your man in your relationship with him, you want to understand what success looks like for him. And you want to make sure that as he's working towards that, you position yourself to be part of that process. The reason that I drew this winding road is because what I want you to imagine is you and him are in a car, so to speak, right? And you're heading towards this destination of success, right? Specifically, what he considers to be success in his career, in his life, just for him and for the both of you. Now, you want to make sure that throughout this process, you play a key pivotal role. So for example, if you're in a car and he's the one driving you guys to the destination here, you want to make sure that you're in control of the directions. And let's imagine in this scenario here that the way that you're in control of the directions, without you, there will be no way to understand which turn to make, at which time, and how to get there properly, right? We want to make sure that you're such an important part of getting to this destination that without you, things change. Without you, things become very frustrating or things become very difficult, not just for him and because he's sad that you're not in his life anymore, but also because he can't properly be the best version of himself. See, this process of integrating yourself inside a man's success and figuring out how you can do that properly on a consistent basis will make it so that the threat of you walking out of his life is not just about him missing you because you're an amazing woman and you have a huge dump truck and he likes to see you leave so he can wank himself off. I'm also discussing the fact that you walking away means that you're also, I should say, walking away with the best version of himself. What do I mean by that? If you're such an integral process towards the journey of success, right, to get to that destination that you actually hold the directions and you leave that car, well, now he's going to drive around in circles. Now he's going to have to scramble and figure things out for himself on how he's going to get to that journey. And you want to know what will happen to that man? It might take him twice as long. He might take a whole bunch of left turns when he should have been taking right turns and right turns when he should have been taking left turns. Because you took some of his ability to be efficient, to be powerful, to be focused away when you left his life. But you want to know what that does for you? It puts an extra bit of emphasis and oomph on the times where you withdraw from him. Because trust me, even in your relationship that's going to last forever, you will have moments in your relationship where it's required for you to withdraw from him, to show him that you're willing to walk away, to set the record straight. and set him straight in your relationship. But this is a good thing. And we want to make sure that you have as much leverage on an ongoing basis as possible, because I know this is not going to sound very good, but when men can be in fear of the fact that you are willing to walk away, they're more likely to show up for you in a way that's actually beneficial for you and the whole of the relationship. Okay? And so what I want for you, in order to keep your man in love with you forever, is I want you to focus on how can I do things that make it so that without me in his life, he's actually missing something that would allow him to be a better version of himself. I'm gonna give you an example of this. So an example of this would be, let's say your man is a blue collar worker, or is it white collar? No, it's blue collar, right? Let's say he goes to a construction site, he's working construction, and he's like a construction boss. He's directing all his people and managing the company and making sure everything's in the right place. And every day you pack him his favorite lunch that's got a little bit of vegetables in it, a little bit of fruit in it, and just the right amount of fish or chicken, or depending on the day. But you make sure that you give him something that he really likes and enjoys to eat, but you also make sure that it's something healthy, that when he eats it, he doesn't feel weighed down, he doesn't get the itis, he doesn't feel sleepy, he feels energized and he feels ready to tackle on the day. And so when you're packing his lunch, he doesn't have to waste money by buying lunch from outside, but he also, after eating it, is more efficient with the rest of his time, right? So when lunchtime comes and he eats, rather than feeling like, oh, I'm so lethargic, I just want to give up the day and not do anything else, he feels like, oh, I'm ready to tackle this problem, I'm ready to take on this problem and that problem, and he's got a whole bunch of energy to do what's necessary for him to get closer and closer to success. And so what happens now is, if you walk out of his life, not only do you walk out of his life with you, the person that you are, but you also walk out of his life his ability to have someone who is helping him become that great, energetic, focused version of himself that's able to go to the construction site and deal with all of these problems. So understanding how to deal with men and understanding how to integrate yourself in their success will also increase your leverage and subsequently make it harder for him to ever think about leaving your life and continue to keep him invested in the success of your relationship. So point number 2 is about the environment that you are going to be setting in order to make your man feel comfortable sharing about himself, sharing about his life, and being honest about how he really feels about things. Let me give you an example of why this is so important and what I really want you doing here. So let's imagine you have 3 different versions of a bubble bath, right? And you want to get into this bubble bath because you want to relax and unwind. There are 3 different versions. The first version is the one with hot water. The second version is the one with ice cold water. And the third version is the one with room temperature or warm water, okay? Lukewarm, let's just say. Now, you're most likely to get into the bubble bath that feels the most comfortable and inviting to you. Unfortunately, when you step into the bubble bath with extremely boiling hot water, unless you're insane, okay, that's not going to be comfortable enough for you to actually relax. You're going to dip your toe in and you're going to be like, this is burning. I don't want to be in here. And you're going to get out. You're going to remove yourself from that place. You're not going to be able to unwind and relax. The second scenario, in which there is ice cold water, you're going to dip your toe and you're going to be like, this is freezing. I can't relax in this. My breath is going to be heavy. I'm going to lose my mind if I try and stay in this cold water. Not to mention, I'll probably get frostbite. But in that warm water, in that water that's just warm enough to be comfortable and relaxing, that is the bubble bath in which you'll be able to get in, sit in, relax, and unwind. So why do I say that? See, these can be considered 3 different kinds of environments, right? And depending on how comfortable or uncomfortable that environment is, will also depend on whether or not you choose to unwind and have the ability to relax and let go there. It's the same thing with you and your relationship with men, except instead of this being a physical bubble bath where he's actually getting into, it's more of an emotional state, right? When I say an emotional state, what I mean is the fact that when you allow a man to feel like this is a place where you can let go, this is a place where you can unwind, this is a place where you will be safe and be free and be free of judgment as well. This is such a good and amazing thing for you to do for your man. Because you want to know what happens, two things happen simultaneously. The first thing that happens is you get something very important, which is a better understanding of your man because he is sharing with you his true and real thoughts. The second thing that happens is your man actually feels comfortable around you being himself, sharing real and honest thoughts about how he really thinks and really feels. When this happens, especially in an emotional sense, right, and a spiritual sense, he feels closer to you. He feels more bonded with you. He doesn't feel the need to outsource the fact that he can't talk about his real feelings and thoughts to someone else. This is a grave mistake that a lot of women will make when they finally get into a relationship with a man. They'll adopt a mindset that I'm not going to be his therapist for any means whatsoever. He's a grown man. He's an adult. If he has feelings or emotions, he can figure them out and solve them himself, right? He can be a man. But this is an issue. When you adopt the mindset as a woman with the superpower of being able to unbox emotions and help men unbox their emotions, not that you're his mother, but you have to understand that is part of your skill set. That is part of what you specialize in as a woman. Men have their own things that they specialize in, and you have your own things that you specialize in. And together, you guys become more than the sum of your parts, okay? So the reason that I say that is because you want to understand that creating this environment is something that will benefit both of you. Because you want to understand your man. You want to know him better. You want to know what he really thinks and how he really feels. And the worst thing that can happen to you is you having the thought process that you're not going to be his therapist. And then he's in a place where he has to outsource the job of having someone in his life that he can actually be real with about who he really is and what he really desires and the pains that in his life and the fears in his life. And you want to know what will happen when he outsources that job or that responsibility? He will become more attached and feel more close to that person that is providing him with this environment. I don't ever, when you're building a relationship with a man, I don't ever want this to be anyone else. I don't ever want this person that is providing this warm water, inviting environment to be anyone else in your man's life except for you. The first person that he tells when he's happy and overjoyed about someone should always be you. The first person when he wants to let go of fears and pains and get things off of his mind and be stress-free, he should run to you. He should call you. He should text you. You should be the first person on his mind whenever he wants to get something off of his chest. This is an amazing place for you to be in, because just like when we talked about in point number 1, where when you can integrate yourself into success, you have more leverage, right? In this sense, when you can integrate yourself into his life where you are the one, the main person in his life, creating this safe environment that he feels like he needs to come to you about anything that's on his mind. Now, all of a sudden, you've created a scenario where he needs you just that much more. And it's that much harder, the idea of you walking out of his life, right? Now we've added on more and more things. Not only or would you be walking away with his ability to be the best version of himself as it relates to his success in his career, but now you're also walking away with his ability, or sorry, I should say his safe person. The person that he comes to collect his thoughts, to understand himself better. And it's not about babying your man. It's not about being a man's mother. And it's not about being a man's therapist. It's about being a man's safe person. That he feels safe enough to be honest with you about who he really is and what he really thinks and what he really wants. Every man has a desire for that. And it becomes that much harder to leave a woman when you finally find the woman that provides you with that. Because trust me, unfortunately, a lot of women will neglect this part. So in our number 3 point, we're going to discuss the happy dog concept. Now, please, I don't want to see not one comment about my drawing of a dog. Okay, not a single comment better be addressing my drawing of a dog. Clearly, it's professional. Don't worry about that. All right. So my point being, with this happy dog concept, I know that when you are with a man for a while, you can easily fall into the trap of being very comfortable with the routine of being around him all the time, that you forget that he is a lot like a dog. And in order for you to keep him in love with you forever, you need to treat him similar to a dog. What do I mean by that? You ever noticed this idea that happens with your dog a lot? Maybe you didn't. I'll explain it to you. Whenever you leave the house, anytime you're gone or away from your dog is really, really sad, right? He's a sad dog, okay? There's a little frown on his face anyway. Anyways, you get it. He's a sad dog, all right? So when you're gone and you're away from the house, right? Your dog is really sad because he misses you. He doesn't know what to do with his life when you're not around. He doesn't know how to have fun by himself. He just kind of wanders around and looks for something to do, but there's nothing to stimulate him because the person who he's looking to stimulate him and who he's used to being around all the time is actually gone now. But here's the really interesting part. You see, no matter how long it is that you leave, whether it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 5 hours, 3 days. See, every time you return back from being away, right? And you walk through that door once again, we're going to make you kind of small, right? You return through this door and you come back, right? This is the really interesting thing about your dog. Every time you walk through that door, your dog is ecstatic again, right? Your dog is over the moon, jumping up and down, jumping on top of you, jumping on the couch, jumping on everything, because your dog finally sees you walk through that door and realizes that life is filled with color again. Life is exciting. It's fun. It's so amazing. But it's something very interesting that you might have not noticed here. Every time this happens, the same thing happens, meaning your dog responds the same way. And see, this is actually really funny because the only time you get this level of excitement from your dog is the first time you walk back into that house after being away from that house. But when you're there, just chilling with your dog regularly, and you've been with him for the past 7, 8 hours, your dog will just sit there and chill and relax and not say anything, not bark, not do anything, like everything is regular and everything is copacetic. How come he doesn't give you that same excited, happy, over the moon reaction every single time he sees you at any time of the day? That's because it would be impossible for him to be that excited about being around you all times of the day, 24/7. See, the really interesting thing, just like your dog and your man, is that the only way for you to get that excitement out of him on a regular basis is for you on a regular basis to spend some time away from him. So if we relate this directly to your man, how are you going to do that in a practical sense when you're now actually in a long-term relationship with this guy, hopefully forever? What you need to remember is you never want to allow your life to become so all consumed by the other person that they never get a break from you. They never get a time where you walk out that door and they can actually think to themselves, gee, what is life like now that I don't have my person with me? And you might be thinking, well, Tomisin, that sounds a little toxic. Do you want me to ignore my partner? Do you want me to not text them back, not answer their calls, not be around them, not do anything with them, right? Just disappear for days on end? No. What I want you to do is give yourself time throughout the week and on particular days where you can say, this time is for me. So as much as I love you and I care about you, which I do, this time when I'm doing my thing, you're not going to be able to call me. You're not going to be able to text me. You're not going to be able to reach me because I want to be focused on my thing during this time. And it doesn't have to be something that lasts 25 days, right? It can be something that lasts 2 hours, 3 hours. It could be as simple as when I go to the gym, I want to focus on my gym. I want to focus on my music. When I go out for a run, I want to focus on my run. When I go to my yoga class, I want to focus on my yoga class. When I go to Pilates, whatever the case, when I start painting, when I start writing, all it has to be is an activity that you say, I want to be focused and present for my thing at this time. And you can even let him know that beforehand, right? It doesn't matter whether he knows it's coming or not. What I want, though, is during that time, he realizes that you've walked out the door. And it doesn't have to be in a toxic way. You've just walked out the door to go to the store. You've walked out the door to do something for yourself. And during that time, you allow him to sit and think, wow, so this is what life is like when my woman is not there. This is what life is like without her support, without her being around, without her presence. And I want him to be able to contrast on a regular basis what life is like with you versus what life is like without you. Because when he can finally contrast that, that is when you walk back into that door, he can be like a happy dog again with his tail wagging, barking all over the place, jumping on the furniture because he's so excited to see you again. But he can only be so excited to see you again when you've actually been away from him, when he hasn't had your presence 24/7. And understand, even in a relationship, this is possible. Even when you live with him, this is possible. Even when you're married to him, this is possible. All you have to do is figure out what your activity or what your thing is going to be that you're going to say, hey, when I'm doing this at this time of the week or this time of the day, my focus and attention will be there. You're not going to really get texts from me. You're not really going to get calls from me. You're not going to get FaceTimes from me. I'm going to be present where I'm at. Now, point number 4 might rock your world a little bit, but I really want to emphasize the importance of this. See, when you finally get into a relationship with a man and you want to make sure you keep him, let's just be so for real. We're all adults here. Sex is an important part of relationships. Sex is an important part, and desire is an important part for men to feel in a relationship and enjoy in a relationship. One of the things that I want you to get good at is understanding your own man's sexual desires. Now, let me be very clear. I'm not saying that when you understand your man's sexual desires, that should mean you do everything that he wants you to do and never consider what you're comfortable with or what you want. I want you to only do things that you're comfortable with. However, I also want you to make a concerted effort towards understanding what your man likes, enjoys, and is into sexually, because this will benefit both of you. I know some of you are hearing this and thinking, well, when is he going to ask me questions? When is he going to do some stuff for me? Is he going to get on his knees and I get to spread my legs and he... Okay, don't worry. You'll get yours too. And I want you to get yours too. But I want you, just like the emotional environment that you create that is supposed to be safe for him, I want you to create a safe sexual environment where he feels like he can actually express his real desires. The reason I emphasize the word real is because let me let you in on a little secret about men. See, they get to a point in life where they understand it's best for me to be just like half honest with women when it comes to my sexual desires, because I don't want them to judge me. I don't want them to think I'm weird. I don't want them to think I'm strange. So what you'll find is a lot of guys will suppress even some of their own sexual desires because they don't want you to think away of them or look down on them or think that they're strange or not the type of guy that you thought they were before. And so this can be a problem, because if your man's not expressing that and he's suppressing that, then he'll start to look for other avenues to express that. Or he might meet someone who embraces the expression of that, and then we have a problem on our hands. We want you to be the person who he feels the safest with in terms of his sexual expression. Now, just like I said before, it doesn't mean that you have to do everything that he desires or likes, because sometimes you might realize your man is into some strange stuff that you just might not be into, okay? Everyone has their thing. Sometimes you might realize your man is just perfectly vanilla, but it's very important to understand even simple things like, where do you like to be kissed? Where do you like to be touched? What are the small, even non-sexual things that you find, erotic when I do them or when I say them? Is there a particular way you like me to talk to you? Do you like me to call you daddy? Do you like me to call you poppy? Do you like, whatever the case may be, understanding that and allowing him to be honest in his expression of what he likes and why he likes it will do things for both of you. One, it will allow him to feel safe expressing himself, which will also bring him closer to you. It'll also ensure that when you guys are interacting with each other, he's really enjoying it. And I promise you, when a man is really enjoying it on a consistent basis, it snowballs him into thinking about, I want to also give you pleasure because you give me so much pleasure. And it can become a really good snowball effect where he's now feeling so good about this experience that he's looking to make you feel that same goodness, and you guys can share in enjoying the experience, right? Especially for you as well as a woman, you're going to be happy, obviously, when you see how happy your man is. We want you to get enjoyment, but we also want you to make sure that you feel confident that, like, I'm doing a great job. I am that girl, right? And we're adding another layer of leverage for you because you're taking him places that he hasn't been taken before, right? And I'm not just talking about rocking his world because you have the best squirtle, you have the best, most lubrication and all that good stuff. I'm also talking about you stimulate his mind the most. You make him feel the most emotionally safe, even in a sexual sense, that he can be his real self. The reason that I drew this picture like this is because men will always have a public side that they show to everyone that they meet, coworkers, friends, acquaintances, and all that other stuff. But they'll have another side to them that they don't share that often with people because it either makes them uncomfortable, they're shy to share it, or they just don't feel like you might accept them for who they really are. You always, always, always want to make your man feel accepted for who he really is without judgment. I'm not saying you can't still be uncomfortable if he really is into some things that you're just not into. But it's very important, regardless of whether you're uncomfortable actually doing it, that you let him feel accepted for the fact that that might be what he's into, or that might be what he likes, without a judgment. And the fact that even if you don't necessarily want to do it, there's ways where you can compromise or work on things to be able to give him some of that in a way that continues to make both of you feel comfortable and that both of you can consent to on an ongoing basis. Finding that happy medium where your man can express himself, talk about what he really feels, talk about what he really desires, talk about what he desires within you and from you. You'll be shocked, okay? You'll be shocked that when you actually start letting men feel safe enough to express these type of things to you, you'll be shocked at the things you might have been doing all this time that were turning him on immensely that you had no idea were even turning him on. And you'll be like, oh my God, why did you never tell me this whole time that that little small thing that I would be doing was turning you on this whole time? Right? It might be something as simple as, oh, I love it when you tell me you're gonna get dressed, just so that you look good just for me. And then you let me pick out what you're gonna wear or have a say in it, because when we go out together, it really turns me on that I know, like, I really picked that for you and you're literally wearing it just for me. You might be like, that is the thing that turns you on the most? That's what gets you going? I just asked you your opinion because you're my partner. I wanted to see how you felt about it. I didn't realize that was taking you to a different place. And now, though, this is the great thing. Now that you realize how much that's doing for him, and he's actually been honest with you because you've created this safe environment for him to be honest and just share with you, even if you think it's trivial or innocent, you can now know to yourself, another tool in my tool belt, another resource for me that I can make sure that I know anytime I want to arouse my man, anytime I want to turn him on, anytime I want to get him going, I have that man wrapped around my finger and I'm in control. Number 5 is about being a man's muse. Now, this might be something a little bit unfamiliar to you because you're a woman, but something very magical happens when a man is with a woman who is existing in her feminine and is doing such a great job of that he begins to become very inspired by her mere existence to take action in his life, be a better person, be a more successful man, be a more capable man, because of all of this woman is in her essence. Now, I know for some of you, you're like, what are you even saying right now? How does that even work? See, this is the thing about men. We are very purpose and goal driven. And being with a woman who we deem to be the epitome of what it means to be a wife, what it means to be in her feminine, existing in her feminine energy, it brings an aura that for us men, our already existing nature of being driven and having goals and wanting to get somewhere, right, is heightened. And to an extreme sense, especially when we're with a woman who is existing very deeply in her feminine. So the reason I say that is because I want you, while you're dating a man, while you're married to a man, to never, ever, ever lose the qualities that keep you in the essence of your femininity. So you need to practice receiving on an everyday basis. You need to practice meditation. You need to practice things that keep you in a place where your mind is ready to receive. You feel like you live in abundance. You feel like you're full of life, full of energy, full of love. Because when you're able to do that, when you're able to be that and exist in that place, right, this becomes a very inspiring state for men to then take action, get to the money, get to the bag, as the kids say, go out and do good work, go out and work harder, go out and work longer, and bring all of the fruits of that labor back to you to take care of his woman. So what I want you to do is never ever lose sight of the way that you become a man's muse is by investing in yourself. Never, ever, ever. I don't care how long you're married. I don't care how long you're dating. I don't care how long it's been. Never, ever stop investing in yourself. Continue to invest in yourself as long as you live. I promise you, when you continue to invest in yourself and your man actually cares about you and loves you, you will inspire him. And I notice I said invest in yourself. That's the irony about being a man's muse. It doesn't actually require you to do more things for him. Get on the floor and scrub the floor squeaky clean. Do all the dishes, wash the pots and pans, get your feet out, get your mouth out, get your hands out, and give him a handy footy and everything at the same time. That is not even what's required of you. All you need to do is continue investing in yourself, continue existing in your femininity, allowing yourself to receive, being filled with life and abundance, because investing in yourself will also help you feel in abundance in life. And I promise you, with a man that loves you, you will be inspiring him just by existing in that state. And so when you understand that and you understand how to get to that place, you should never, ever neglect at any time in your marriage or your relationship the idea that you need to be on a consistent basis investing in yourself. Whether that be every day, every week, every month, you need to have a schedule that is time set out for you to invest in you and give to you. That also includes outside of your children, if you eventually have children, right? You need time for you. You need time to give back to you, to invest in you in order for you to live and exist in that nice, beautiful, amazing feminine state and aura that men find so desirable and so inspirational and motivational to get to the places that they want to be. Point number 6 is about purpose. Now, this is such an important part of being with a man forever. See, I never, ever, ever, remember what I said at the beginning of the show about how men are driven by having goals and wanting to reach success, whatever success is for them. See, what you want to discover when you start meeting a man and learning about him and discovering what success is for him, I never want you to ever position yourself where you are feeling like you are going against what his purpose is. I always want you positioning yourself where you are aligned with his purpose and help to serve that. Now, the reason that I drew this visual here is because I want you to imagine, right? In life, there are so many different choices you can make at any one period of time, where you can make decisions based on your circumstance at the time, and they will all serve you with different outcomes. The reason that I drew this like this is because each one of these roads could serve as a different distraction, because there is really only one road towards your purpose. And on an ongoing basis, as a man, he's always making choices that are either aligned with more and more distractions or aligned with this purpose. What I want you to do is I want you to identify, hopefully, the man that you're with. You should only be picking a man who has purpose. But when you discover what your man's purpose is, I want you to align yourself in that place. What do I mean by align yourself? I want you to make it seem like you and his purpose are on the same page. When he chooses you and when he chooses his purpose, they are perfectly intertwined with each other. It is not you versus his purpose. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's say you meet a guy who loves working out. He's like a bodybuilder and he likes to get jacked and feel good and work on his body and get ripped. Let's imagine every time he goes to the gym for 2.5 hours to do his whole workout routine and do all the stuff he needs to do, you're always like, oh my God, you're always gone so long at the gym. And let's say for the sake of argument, when he's trying to lose weight weight and cut weight for his show, his bodybuilding show, you're always like, oh, we haven't gone out to eat in so many weeks. And you're always counting calories, like, just let go. I want to go to the movies and eat popcorn, and you're bringing rice cakes. You're so boring. This is a problem, because what you're doing is you're creating a wedge. You're creating a subconscious and emotional wedge between him and his purpose. So now, instead of it feeling like anytime he chooses you, he's also choosing his purpose, he'll now end up feeling like anytime he chooses you, he's choosing a distraction. But we don't want him to feel like he's choosing a distraction anytime he's choosing you. This will create a scenario in which, as time goes on, he has to always make a decision and ask himself, do I want to do something for my woman in my relationship, or do I want to do something for my purpose? And the more and more a man feels like those two things don't align with each other and he can't make a decision that serves them both, he will always feel like he either has to choose himself or he has to choose you. The problem is, if he ever doesn't see success in his life, you want to know the first person he's going to blame? He's going to blame you. Because he will have felt all this time that he was making decisions based on trying to make you happy. Then when you're not happy, he'll say, how dare you not be happy, because I've been making decisions that don't serve me so that I can make decisions that serve you. What I want you to do in order to keep your man in love with you forever is I want you to encourage him on his purpose. I want you to encourage him to work hard to get to whatever success looks like for him, whatever he desires for himself. Because I promise you, when you align yourself with that man's purpose and you let him know that you're encouraging him and pushing him to do forward and pushing him to do even better and do even greater work for himself and for his purpose, I promise you, you'll get a much better version of him that way. Because what will happen is he'll say, wow, I feel motivated by my woman. I feel like I get more work done with my woman around. I feel like I'm able to reach higher heights with my woman around. I feel like that woman is my ace. I don't know if you've ever heard guys say that before, right? When you hear successful men go on a stage and accept an award, and one of the first things they start talking about is, my beautiful wife is the reason I'm here. She takes care of so much. She supports me. She motivates me. She inspires me. She does all of this stuff for me. And you might be thinking, wow, that is so sweet. But what you don't understand is hidden under the surface is a woman who's working very hard and very intelligently to align herself with that man's purpose, to the point where he realizes she's such an integral part to his ability to succeed, to his ability to stay focused, to his ability to avoid distractions, that without her, none of this would even be possible. And once again, you create a bond that's even deeper than, hey, you have a big dump truck, you have really nice yitties. You create a bond that's even deeper than, hey, I like your smile and I like your vibe. You create a scenario where you're literally understanding a man's nature and his really deep desires. And you're making sure that you ingratiate yourself in his deepest desires as a man, that without you, he is almost like without himself. Number 7 is about roles. Now, this is probably going to be one of the most difficult points that I'm going to talk about here to actually implement. See, because when you're a woman, you're smart and you're very intelligent. So part of the process of being in a relationship is realizing that both of you have very specific roles in the relationship. And if either of you are trying to do the other person's job, things will not work properly. Let me explain what I mean by this by explaining the idea of light and dark. See, light and dark are very interesting, I guess, have a very interesting relationship, so to speak. The reason for that is because you actually, even though these are separate things, they're actually one thing. The reason for that is you literally cannot understand the concept of what it means to be with light if you don't first understand the concept of what it means to be with dark, and vice versa. You have to understand both to understand either one at all. So the concept is almost like very similar to yin and yang, where the whole idea of yin and yang is it's a symbolism for things that flow in and of each other. They are made of each other, and without each other, they cannot exist. The relationship is so integral that there's a symbiosis between them that literally does not allow them to work unless they're both present. Light has to be present with dark in order for light to properly even exist. And vice versa, dark has to be present with light in order for dark to even exist. So the reason that I say that is I want you to think of your relationships and your relationship with a man the same way. You need him because he has a very special set of skills and abilities that you do not possess, and vice versa. He needs you because you have a very special set of skills and abilities that he does not possess. So rather than thinking of your relationship as, oh, I'm with this guy and I'm better at him than this, and he's not as good at this. Oh, I shouldn't help him with that because he's a man, he should figure it out. He shouldn't need to help me with that because I'm grown, I got this by myself. I don't want you thinking like that. I want you going into your relationships and realizing my man is supposed to play the role of my man. And me as a woman, I'm supposed to play the role as a woman. And better understanding that you both have roles will better help both of you to delegate responsibility where it's necessary. And I'll give you an example of what I mean, okay? So let's just say you want more romance in your relationship, right? And you want to be able to go out on more dates. See, the way that you go about this by not playing your role is by saying, hey, Jim, we're going to go out to this sushi spot tonight because that's where I want to go. You're going to book it off in your schedule and we're going to do this, right? By the time, even if you go on that date, the romantic energy that's supposed to be present when the two of you are dating each other is not going to be there. And it's funny, the only reason it's not there is because the roles are reversed. If your man came to you and said, babe, I'm taking you on a sushi date tonight. I don't care what you're doing. You're taking off work. I don't care. I'm going to pay you. You're calling in sick. We're going to that sushi place. Put on that dress. We're going to have a good time. It's funny. If he does that exact same thing, now you guys go on that date and there's a lot of romantic energy between you two. But all I did was switch who did what. But all of a sudden, one scenario works perfectly for a relationship and one scenario doesn't work at all. The reason that I say that is because this is exactly how relationships exist in totality, all throughout. You have to get good at figuring out how does he serve a specific role in this relationship in different circumstances and situations that we'll go through as a man in his masculine energy? And how do I serve a specific role in this relationship throughout all the situations and scenarios we'll go through as a woman in our relationship? And when both of you can be very aware of your roles, can discuss them, can understand them, and can play them to a T, now you have a situation where the relationship can really, really, really thrive for a long period of time, right? So this might take an adjustment because it's not an overnight thing, and both of you have to work together in understanding, hey, these type of things in our relationship, this ain't my job. I'm going to have hands off. I'm going to let you deal with it. Vice versa, these certain things in the relationship, I will embrace handling because I want to take care of those things because those are things that I'm very good at. And the same thing will be done on his part. There are certain things he will be amazing at, very capable at, very understanding of, and those will be the things that he handles. You will have things that you're amazing and capable at, and you will handle those things. Embracing the fact that both of you are different, but the fact that both of you need each other in order to work is so vital to making a healthy, long-lasting relationship. Point number 8 is about emasculation. Now, this might be one of the hardest things to actually implement because I know when you get upset, and you're allowed to get upset, you're allowed to feel emotional, it's very, very easy and comfortable to lash out at that time, to say whatever you want to say whatever's on your mind, to talk however you want to talk, to curse him out, to call him names, to say his pee-pee small, to say all type of things. There's a problem though. You want your man to love you forever, correctly? You want him to be in love with you forever. One of the easiest ways to make a man fall out of love with you is to emasculate him. You know, we talk a lot about ego on the show, and there's a very important reason for that, because ego is very, very important to men. And when you burst that bubble, when you don't understand how to massage that to get what you want, and you go against that, or you ruffle those feathers, what you're going to get is a very negative and poor response from men. See, here's the thing. I want you to be able to address things that upset you, and I want you to have the ability to be upset. But I want you, when you are upset, to rethink the way that you go about being upset or expressing those feelings. Not that you're not going to feel them, but I would rather than you tell him that his pee small, tell him that he don't have no D game, tell him that, your ex did everything better than him. I would rather than you do that, I would rather you just withdraw and let him come to you and ask you what's wrong and how he can solve it or help the situation. Because I promise you, even if you're upset and even if your blood is boiling and you want to explode, I promise you, a man will be so much more receptive when you don't emasculate him, even if all you do is withdraw from him and take some space away from him. You guys and your relationship can always recover from simple space. What is unrecoverable is when you say things that will hit a man in his ego in a way that will allow him to never forget what you said to him. I'm going to give you an example of this, okay? Let's just say, for the sake of example, you and this man have an argument, right? And during this argument, you're like, whatever, your pee is so small, I never even had a single orgasm. Sounds or feels good, I should say, to say when you're really upset and you want to hit him where it hurts. But what ends up happening afterwards, after you make him feel emasculated, right, like that? Let's imagine in this scenario also you say it in front of other people. This is very bad for you in the long run, because now you have a man who wants to step on you because you made him feel so small and insignificant. This is why I drew you so giant here and I drew him so small. He wants to make you feel so small and insignificant in return for feeling small and insignificant around you in that moment, that you'll have a man that you're actually holding close to you in your life, that you're saying you love, that's sleeping in your bed, that's actually plotting on your downfall. And it can be a very dangerous situation to have someone so close to you who actually wants the worst for you. And the reason that I say that is that an emasculated man is a dangerous man. I'm going to say it one more time. An emasculated man is a dangerous man. Men who feel emasculated by their women will do very strange and weird things. I would rather you, in your response to being upset and being angry, just withdraw from a man and be angry to your friends and other people in your life and express it to them, and allow him to come to you and have a desire to fix and work on the problem. Then you can talk about why this thing bothered you. It's way better than emasculating him by calling him names or putting him down in front of his coworkers or in front of his guy friends, God forbid, okay? Or doing something that will make him feel this small. Because remember how I said we all have roles to play in our relationship? It's not about you not speaking up for yourself, and it's not about you not addressing things. But what you don't want to happen is you don't want to put your man in a position where he feels the need to get back at you. And these type of your words can be so powerful in a way to motivate him, inspire him to be better, but can also be so powerful to make him feel like he needs to get back at you and to make him feel a deep vengeance towards you, even though he's in a relationship with you. I don't want you to be in a relationship with a man who feels vengeance towards you. I want you to be in a man who sees you and thinks of you as someone he is inspired by and is motivated by and wants to work hard for. So you have to be careful with your words and understand how powerful they are for you as a woman in being able to both lift your man up, but also possibly bring him down.